If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash making advice. Now let's get to it. Welcome to Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and posse. I'm your host, Tiffany, and for so many of you who are wanting to do the damn thing, you're not happy with where you're at. It could be a corporate job. It could be some side hustle you're working. You're not making the money you want. You aren't having things working how you want in your life, and you want to change. You want to do a thing. And then you follow people on social media who are doing the thing. And you're like, God, how's that bitch doing that thing? Like, how is she making that happen? How is she making all that money? Is she really making that money, or is she fronting, or what's going on there? And I thought the same thing, because part of me didn't want to believe it was really possible, because it seemed like a dream to me to have that happen. My other business is B2B. So it's focused really in the corporate world and pharmaceutical, medical world. And even though I was an entrepreneur, it was really boring. It got really old. I wasn't really excited by it. So when I saw all these people online with like personal brands and making money on social media, making all this stuff happening, I was like, I wanted to believe it was possible. I was very skeptical. And I know some of you are in that spot. A lot of it has to do with your own limiting beliefs and stuff that we were taught growing up and just in society, that if you want to make serious cash, you're going to have to be something extra special that you're not. And it's all crap. It's all out there for all of us. And I brought on one of my clients, and just a super successful, dynamic woman, Latoya, Britt. She is a licensed nurse practitioner, and she was in that world. Those of you who aren't familiar with that professional designation of nurse practitioner, I always like to say this because it sounds like, oh, she's a nurse. No, not that anything isn't special about being a nurse, but a nurse practitioner writes prescriptions, y'all. It's actually the next level down, so to speak, from being a doctor. So it's a lot more hours than even being a physician assistant. So she busted her butt to get this, and you make great money as an NP. Like, it's not like she wasn't making great money, but we're going to get into her story of why she wanted to move out of that and work for herself, and what that really looks like, figuring it out on what you are going to do, what you can do, what you can make money at, and the reality of doing the damn thing. Because it's not what you want to believe it is, or what most of these people are showing you online. Well, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here.
So tell us, you could have stayed work in that circuit of a nurse practitioner, high demand. I mean, you could have stayed in that, made a great living. Like, what was pulling you out of that world?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, people always ask me that. And it's so funny because I actually really did enjoy what I did. Like, at the core of it, I loved being a nurse practitioner. I was an oncology nurse practitioner. So for people who don't know what that is, I treated cancer patients. And that's a whole different beast, but I really did love it. But honestly, it was like literally doing some soul searching, and I was just not happy at my core. Like, I loved what I did, but like, I was that person. I was on Instagram. There's a couple here in Atlanta that I know personally, like we are from like around the same neighborhood. And I saw them like bust their ass, become business bosses. And I was doing the same thing. Like every night, just you got your people that you follow. And I'm like, what are people doing? And then I just had to realize I thought everybody was a scam. Nobody's, because I'm from Atlanta, baby.
I did too.
I'm like, they're scamming.
I did too. I'm like, they're fronting. This is bullshit.
This is bullshit. Like, this is bullshit. This is not happening. And then I just kind of started just like listening to people's stories, because they start like, people who scam don't have evidence. They don't have the stories to tell you what they did, and then what they did, and then what they did, and then what they did. And I just opened up to be like, why do I want that? First of all, I had to ask myself, why am I concerned about these people? And then I realized it was really all me. Like, I'm not happy with what I'm doing. And probably a big part of it happened when I had my son. So I'm a single parent, and I was raised by a single parent, and my mom was the mom. She worked like a couple of jobs, and the neighborhood raised me. Like, all of her friends were like babysitters here and there, and she missed a lot of stuff. And that was like, I remember her not being able to be at stuff like, oh, I danced. Like, she couldn't come to the dance performances. She would come to one, but she couldn't come to all of them. And I wanted her there for everything. You know what I mean? I didn't have any sisters and brothers. My mom is it. And she just couldn't come to stuff. And at the same time, she was kind of like living her own life. So she was like, I'll come to this, but then I have my own thing. And I wanted to be the mom that was there, because I used to envy the kids whose parents came to everything. I was like, your mom came and bought cupcakes in the middle of the day to the party. I always wanted that. So like, my head, like, when I have kids, I'm going to be able to do that. And then I'm in this job that I make really good money at, and you can't leave in the middle of the day at the hospital. Can I cuss? I'm sorry. Like,
hello, you listen to the show
to deliver cupcakes. But I always wanted. I thought those kids were so cool. Like, your mom can just stop by and check in, or your mom can like bring the extra stuff to the party. And when I had my son, I remember when he started daycare, there was like Christmas came, and they were having Santa at school to take photos. And they were like, Santa will be here it was in the morning, because they made it for the parents when you drop the kids off, but Santa will be here from 8:30 to 9. And I'm like, 8:30? Oh shit, I'm supposed to be at work at 8:30. And like, I had to ask for permission to be late. And I was like, this is not life, because I'm not like the janitor, not saying there's anything wrong with the janitor, but I'm not the person that has to open the place up. If I need to be 10, 15 minutes late, I should be able to do that, because I want to just be there for pictures. And I had to go around and get a hold. Can you see my first patient? Or I had to ask permission from like people that I felt like I shouldn't have, because I bust my ass and I pull my weight. I ought to be able to like, one day, 15 minutes, like I didn't even want to have to ask. I just felt like I wanted to be able to be like, I'm going to be late today. I'm coming in, but I want to take, photos with Santa. And when I had to ask, I was like, it felt so like, it made me feel so small.
I was just going to say, it feels like demeaning.
It felt very demeaning. I'm like, I'm a nurse practitioner. I have multiple degrees.
Like, I went to like a lot of school hours for this shit.
A lot of school hours for this shit. And they're kind of like looking at me like, well, we'll let you. It's one of those things. It's his first Christmas. I'm like, well, if I want to do it next year, am I not going to be able to do it next year? Because I did it this year. Like, like, and then everything after that, every time, it was like in my head, like this, like, no.
Because things kept happening where you kept getting more and more, like the universe kept saying,
yes,
like, this isn't for you anymore. This isn't for you anymore. What made your wheels start turning? Because I didn't even get into yet, like what your business is. So she is a certified cosmetic and camouflage tattoo artist and owns Skin ATL in Atlanta. So what got your wheels even turning to go from being an oncology nurse practitioner to doing basically medical tattoos?
So the crazy thing is, I tell people this and people think I'm crazy, but it's literally what happened. The crazy thing is, I read Big Magic. I think it's by Elizabeth Gilbert. And I have read that book, and I'm like, it just connected with me, because I felt like if people don't know the book, like that's the premise of the book is we all have these ideas. Well, basically ideas want to be manifest, and you'll get an idea and then you're like, wow, that's so cool. And then you have a certain time to pull it off. And if you don't, the idea would travel and go somewhere else, and you'll be watching TV and you're like, that's the shit I thought about. And then,
like you're buzzed with your girlfriends and you have an invention.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it's on Shark Tank.
Then it's on Shark Tank. You're like, no, I promise you, I had that same thought. Yeah.
So and the universe is like, yeah, girl.
I gave it to you. You did not do nothing with it. Yes. So we were like, I read the book, had a book club. We were all like having our whole examples, and everybody had 5 or 6 times where this happened to them. And I remember being like, the next time that shit happens to me, I'm going, like, I'm jumping. And literally one day, one of my patients came in to the clinic, and she was a breast cancer survivor. And she said to me, Britt, because that's what everybody called me. She said, Britt, one of my girls can see and one of them can't. And she was referencing her breast. So she had a mastectomy, and she had one breast that was unaffected with cancer. And then she had a mastectomy on the other breast. So one of them had a nipple, one did not. So for visual purposes, I call them mounds when they don't have nipples. That's just the term that I use, because that's essentially what they look like. They don't look natural because they don't have an areola. There's nothing that makes it look like a breast. It's just shaped like a breast. So she said, one of my girls can see and one can't. And she was like, they both want to see, baby. So she's like, and we laughed, and she said, do you know anybody who does their areola tattoo? And I'm like, yeah, sure. We use this one woman that we referred everybody to. The social worker would just give people her business card, and that was that. And she said, oh, I looked through her stuff, and she's like, I'm not impressed. And I'm like, why? She's, well, for one, she doesn't have any Black people.
Oh, that's and I'm like, good. Not with that specialty.
Right. And I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't mean she can't tattoo.
But now you know how important that is, right?
So let me tell you what happened. So she's, yeah, well, I wasn't impressed. And she's, so if you can find somebody for me, I'm willing to travel. She's like, I looked. And then at the time I just was like, maybe auntie just doesn't know how to use the internet. Like, sure. So that was like my personal project. She was coming back like in another 3 weeks. I was like, when you come back, I'll find you an artist, because I'm in Atlanta. Atlanta has a huge art community. I'm like, surely I'll find somebody. I literally went home, and that was my little project. I was like, I'm going to find this, because I know this lady was going to ask me again, because they thought that everybody like adopted me as like their niece and stuff. Like, where you get your hair done? Like, they wanted me to be like the little connector person. So I'm like, surely that's her thing. She came to ask me that. So I started researching and found nobody. And I was like, wait. Now, I worked at another cancer facility from the one that I did, and it dawned on me, we used the same lady. So like literally, I'm in a totally different part of town, 2 cancer facilities. We use this same woman, and I'm like, surely she can't be the only person in Atlanta doing this. She sort of was, but she didn't have any Black people. So her portfolio was not very diverse. And when I started looking for artists who did this, that was even minimal. And there was literally nobody who had Black clients. And I was like,
you saw a clear hole in the market.
I was like, this is a big deal, because I couldn't even help her. I was like, wait. And then to be fair, the people who did offer this service, they were like New York, LA, Midwest, nobody in the South, nobody in the Southeast. And I was like, that's crazy. So I literally it was almost like a ping. That's what I call them. It was like the universe was like, ping, you could do this. And I was like, wait. And I almost kind of like got excited, because I was like, maybe I could do this. That was just what I got. Like at first, I tell people it's almost like the idea floated down, because I remember where I was in my office on the computer. The idea like floated down, and I'm like, oh shit. So then I just kind of was like, well, how could I do this? What does that mean? And the backstory is I'm super creative. I paint, I draw, but I hadn't done all this stuff in years. And I was like, well, maybe I can put that with this. That was what I thought real fast. And then I started researching to try to find where I could go to school. And then I got scared and kind of put it away. Right? No.
Like your self-doubt came in
quick. Yeah. Like first it was almost like, maybe you could do this like a cutesy idea. And then I'm like, girl, how? You know what I mean? And then I just let it alone. And then probably like maybe a week or two later, another friend called me and was like, we are in the wrong business. I went and got my brows done. And the brow girl started talking to me. And she said the brow artist was saying like, oh, I wonder if I should go back to nursing school because I could add this with my degree and make even more money and maybe work at a plastic surgeon's office. And I'm like, really? So I looked up the artist that she told me. This girl was like, she was on Instagram living her best fucking life, and she just was a brow artist, like no medical degrees, nothing. And I'm like, she's probably making. I started doing the math, and I'm like, she's probably making double what I'm making, and she like didn't even work every day. And I was like, okay, like that was that. And then probably 2 weeks later, another friend, two totally different friends called me and said the same thing. And I was like, okay, like the redundancy of this.
The
like,
universe was not letting it go for you.
Girl, not letting it go. And I had this conversation with my sister, and she was like, stay there and see, what do you think that's really about? She's like, why do you think you really want to do this? Because I'm not a makeup girl. I'm like bohem chic. Like I'm like real chill. Like I'm not even into all of that stuff. And I was like, I like the idea. And then at first I was like, well, maybe it's the money that I wanted. But what I really realized was like, it was the freedom that I was desiring. And I was like, when I said that word, is the freedom that you want. It's not even the money, because I made good money. I was like, right. I was doing all the things that I really wanted to do in life. I traveled, I drove a nice car, I have a nice house. Like life is good, but I did not have any freedom. Like I had to ask for permission to do the things that at the time were now important to me. And I was like, no, I want to be able to shut my schedule down. I want to be able to be like, we're going here. I don't want to have to like try to put my vacation in between the next person that is putting theirs in for the same time. And I asked for Christmas off next year, and I can't ask for Christmas off the year after. Like all of that was like what was really getting me boiling. And when I realized, I was like, it's the freedom that you're desiring. I was like, oh, I don't have that. I just don't. And that became very important to me.
Did you then go all in on researching the hell out of it? Because I mean, I was with you early on. I remember you guys when she came to me and we were out, and she told me, she's like, this is what I'm going to do. And I like flipped out because my background, my other company is all in like cosmeceuticals, plastic surgery, dermatology. And I'm like, this is genius, like beyond genius. Like you have to do this. I'm like, I was so excited.
When I met you, Tiffany, I was like a year in, but this is like the year of the stuff that people don't see. So like when I met you, I officially opened skin like June 1st. I think I started coaching with you like in August. So it was like June and July. And by August, I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I got to get some help. But before that, this idea came to me the August 2019. I researched it for like August, September, October. And in October, I bought a business license and was like, this is it. So I researched it for 3 months. And the researching it was also me like going back and forth, right. And literally in October, I was like, I'm doing this. I'm going to start a business. This is what I'm going to do. And then I like started the process of getting certified. I had a goal to start in January. That didn't happen because of all the stuff I didn't know that I found out later about licensing and getting a studio permit and all of this stuff that I discovered along the way. But I went all in.
When did you quit your job? Did you kind of side hustle it, or did you say, no, I'm going to just quit?
No, girl. So I quit my job in May. I quit my job. Like I gave them notice like May 15th, and I gave them a 2-week notice, which is so taboo in my industry. People give like a 60-day notice at least. And I didn't give a shit by then because so much had happened. I was like, this is it. Nope. I'm not even doing a whole season because I could not even go through another 2 months. Like it was there. I was like, nope, I'm giving my notice, and I quit in May. And that is not how I planned it. I had planned to do what was real comfortable for me. So like my plan was I was going to start my business. at the time when I got the idea, I had a much more flexible schedule. Like I had a day off during the week. I only worked 4 days. I had a day off. And then I worked half days. So in my mind, I was going to see clients in the other half of the time and the day off. And it was going to be appointment only. So this is going to be perfect. And maybe the weekends, like every other weekend, because I co-parent. So that was what I had thought in my mind. And I was like, I'm going to start that. And then I'll do that for 6 months to years. I build up my clientele and then I'll do it. Well, baby, that is not how it worked. I ended up giving them people a 2-week notice. And then January 1st, I went all in. And
so you went and you had to still get, even with all of your schooling and credentials, you had to still learn how to the process of doing this kind of tattooing, right?
Yep.
But what you were saying to me before we came on is that you actually tell people now, before you go and pay to take the classes, and you teach these classes now, you charge for these classes.
Yep.
You say, before you even go and start taking the class and learning the technique, you need to make sure you're starting and looking at the process of how you're actually going to make money doing this.
Yes. So I have a 3-hour webinar and like an accompanying vendor list, like on my website. But the 3-hour webinar is literally like a pathway to, if you're in this career, like something outside of permanent makeup and tattooing, and you want to transition into this, and this is something you want to do, this is how to go from A to Z. This is what you need to do. And I go through licensing certification, because people think if they take a course, they're going to be licensed, and they're actually going to be certified. And you need certification for insurance purposes. And sometimes in different cities or states, they ask you to be certified to get a license, but it's not the same. Only the government or the state or those people can give you licensing jurisdiction, and people don't know that. So people will call me or message me and go, when I take your class, will I be licensed? And I'm like, no.
You're like, I'm not the government.
I'm not the government. Only the city and the county can give you a license. And people they get caught up in that. And then they feel like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Or
because a lot of you guys do this with people. I see real estate people do it. I'm going to get my real estate license. I'm going to go be a certified life coach. And I'm going to pay all this money and spend all this time studying it. And then you end up getting out, and you might know how to do the thing, or might have the actual like credential, but you have no one to buy from you. And now we have a problem.
And now we have a problem. Yeah. And that kind of happened to me. Like when I first took the course, because that's how I operate. Like I'm thinking like it's going to come fully loaded with everything, only to realize like I learned technique, but I have no idea how to start the business of it. And I think when I was there, I went for 2 weeks over a 2-week period, because I got certified. I got certified in a lot of things, but I only do a small portion. Because even with that, I got certified in something that I could not get insurance from. And that was the back part. So that's a lot of stuff that I tell people. I'm like, everything sounds nice and glamorous, but make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, because I paid like a couple of $1,000s to learn a skill that by the time I was trying to get the insurance company was like, yeah, well, that's no longer approved in the United States. They're only doing like stuff like that.
Damn.
Or certain states are like, certain states do things differently. Like Florida is almost like the Wild Wild West. A lot of shit goes down in Florida. Different places don't let you do things. You know what I mean? If you take a class from out of state, that may be totally fine in Nevada or Arizona. And then in where you are, that's different.
When you came to me for business coaching, were you at a point where you're like, okay, like I know how to do this thing, and I know you had some clients, but I think you were kind of tripping. Oh my! I need to make some like real money here.
Yeah, I was like, okay, because what I told myself when I quit was, I told myself, I gave myself 3 months to get clients. I was like, I'm going to give myself 3 months to get clients. And then if in 3 months, this doesn't work out, I'll go back to being a nurse practitioner. That was like the talk I had with myself. But what I realized is there's so much that goes into it. There's no way I could have done what I'm doing now part-time. Like, and there really is no way. When I decided to leave, it was like either I had already had a studio. So I had been paying rent for 6 months by now. Like I got my studio in January. This is now May and I'm not even doing anything. You were
spending more than
I was
you're
spending
making.
way more
Which,
money
by
than
the way, you guys,
that happens.
This is business 101. A restaurant, anything, any kind of business, online, in person.
You're in the hole at first. You know what I mean? Like you're in the red. Yeah, you're in the red. So I was doing that, and me and my dad was like, I kind of had decided in my mind, but I was scared to say it out loud. So I was telling my dad. So it was like me trying to decide like to leave, and I knew I needed to. It was just so scary because I still tell myself this. I still go back and forth with this. This is like my inner critic being like, you have all these degrees, you have this very prestigious job, and now you're gonna just start over and be a tattoo artist. And like, I'm from the era where you go to college and get a good job and you stay there, blah, 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 blah. I'm like the model family member in my family. And then to just walk away from all of that and start something that nobody even had heard of and understood, it was so scary. But the conversation I had with my dad, and I was really just saying it out loud, but I just needed like a sounding board. I was like, I either do this 100% and see if it takes off, or I do it 50% and then wonder why it didn't. You know what I mean? Like, I'll never know. Like, if I'm only putting 50% of effort in.
That's why I tell you guys, like, you can't be toe dipping and expect to have great results. If you really want to see if thing's going to work, it's all in or nothing.
It's all in or nothing. Like,
I would tell you, I'm lazy as fuck. If I could do a toe dipping and it would work,
I would do that.
I would do that.
That's how I depict you as a business coach. I was like, listen, I don't even know how I found you still, but I think I found you randomly. I think I found you through podcasts or something. I don't even remember, but I remember I listened to 3 podcasts. And when you said that, I was like, oh shit, that is so true. I was like, ooh, that's so good. That was for me confirmation, like I made the right decision, because I know that that's the only way. Different stuff works for different people, but I knew when I started doing this, I'm like, because I was thinking like, who's going to answer the phone when people called if I was at work? Like, I don't have the kind of job, you know what I mean? Like, stuff I had never even thought about. I'm like, if I'm in the room with a patient and I'm literally writing a prescription, or like even more serious, I write chemo orders. This stuff is toxic, like, and it's life-threatening.
You have like a very serious job.
I have a very serious job. And somebody calls me and they're like, hey, I'm trying to schedule an appointment. And I'm like, yes, hold on. Put you on hold. And okay, Mr. Jones. So like, back to you. Like, I was not going to ever be able to
having stage 4 cancer.
I was never going to be able to do that. But that was just me trying to make it easy for myself and thinking I could do that. And when I like literally got in the trenches, I was like, girl, that was not going to work, friend. This was the way you had to do it. And yeah.
So the easy part, it sounds, is actually taking the certification, learning the skill, getting the credential. I always tell people like studying and learning is safe, right? It's safe because we're not really putting ourselves out there. No one's really seeing stuff. The part that's vulnerable and terrifying is
all the behind the scenes shit.
Is marketing your stuff, pricing it, talking about it, selling it.
Like, I was so comfortable with like when I got the skill, because I had researched it enough. I was like, I know I can do this, because I've been a nurse practitioner. Like, a lot of people are like hesitant when they touch people. Like, I've been touching people doing exam. So I was like, this is just going to be like another nurse. In my mind, I'm like, this is going to be like another skill I learned. Like, cool, great. And I don't mind looking at people, and nothing grosses me out because I have a decade in and stuff. So I knew I was going to kill that shit. Like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to be shaky at first. Like, I had already told myself, you're not going to start off being great, but you're going to get there. That was the easy part. But then it was like, the other stuff, like when I got to you and we had a conversation about deposits, like you were like, how much is the deposit? And I told you, you were like, girl, bye. People are going to flake out on you. You need to up it.
I don't know. It was bad.
It was really something crazy low. And you were like, no, raise that shit. And I was like, I remember going like, really? I should ask for a higher deposit? And you were like, absolutely. People are going to just flake. And you were like, you might not do that because that's not who you are, but people will do it. And literally, it was like, You're absolutely right. You're like, if they want to come, they'll either decide if that's what they really want to do, or they won't fake book an appointment. And I will say from that, like people, even my consultations, I almost have 100% show rate. Nobody ever flakes on me because I don't play that shit. I make it real. People even get to, girl, like it's so funny. Like people even get to my appointments because I have like all my, I'm like, I'm thorough as hell, but like people get to my appointments like 30 minutes early. And I'm like, girl, it's at 11.
Yeah, but
it's
you
10.
taught them how to,
I taught them that.
Right?
So I'm so thankful, but that happened because of you. Like literally a lot of stuff I like learned as things were going on, but like I learned how to be like boundaries and like specific. Do not play, like this is not a game. And I have to tell myself that even when I'm talking to clients, like you're asking for a deposit. Absolutely. If you want to do this, you just pay a deposit. When you become a business owner, you have to be so serious because it doesn't feel like that at first. You know what I mean? Like now it's like, sure, but starting out, it's almost like you're pretending that you're doing something until it becomes like memory. But you have to literally go, this is the way it's going to go, and don't back down. Because that's what you're almost deciding to do. Well, you don't have that much money. Come back when you're ready to make the investment. I'll be here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm like,
and it's not because you don't care. It's not because you don't care about them. It's because you're honoring yourself. And
right, because what I have done is before the Care Bear part of me has lowered the cost, or I stayed early. Now people are like, I don't want to send my photo in for I just want to do virtual. And I'm like, no, I don't offer virtual consultations.
It can almost feel like you're being like a hard.
It almost feels like you're being mean or a bitch.
But you have to, because otherwise
everything will have a story. You just get up. Yep. And so I learned that. And now I like whenever something happened like that with my late fee, like literally I had to have somebody screw. And I was like, you know what? That happened because I don't have it stated anywhere. So let me type it up and let me put it on my website and let me make you check and sign before you book an appointment, because people don't go to your website or they don't read that. That's the policy. It sure is. And it's on everything that you sign now. You know what I mean? Like things like that had to happen. But every time I've lowered my standard, it's always screwed me over. So I don't even do it anymore.
Do you notice the difference between like when you were your boundaries were wishy-washy versus how they're so clear now? Do you notice you attract a totally different type of patient?
Oh my God. Like when they were wishy-washy, like for 3 months, Tiffany, I was getting people it was a late thing. So I knew it was like the universe trying to level me up on my business. It was like, people were like last minute, can I change my appointment like the day before? And I don't have the kind of business where I have a wait list that you can like, sure, I can call the next person up because there's a pre-care that they have to go over. So if somebody cancels on me today, that's it. I'm screwed. So I'm like, okay. So that happened for 3 months. And I was like, okay, what do I need to do? And it's because I didn't have that part finite in like how I really wanted it to go. Because to me, it sounded mean and scary and bitchy. And then literally I put it on my website and got it out the way I wanted it. And as soon as I did it, the very next week, somebody called me and was like, I'm running 45 minutes late. And I was like, sure, there's going to be a late fee. And she's okay. She came in, sent me the late fee and was like, okay. And I was like, all right, great. So let's get started. And it felt so different from before. That same person who was late, I'm like, this bitch was late.
Right. You had resentment.
I had resentment,
you were also the one that didn't have the boundary.
It was really my fault. Exactly. Yeah. So, and then now that was the girl who paid the late fee that day was like, I'm sorry, I'm late. Here's the late fee. Let's get ready. Let's go. And then nobody has been late since.
See, it
happened for 3 months. It was like, oh, I'm going to be 10 minutes late. And literally it's this. I give a grace period now. I have a whole, like, it's nice.
We attract completely different people when we create these kind of boundaries, and the boundaries where it's also boundaries for yourself. It's like a self-respect.
Yeah, it's a self-respect. It really, really is.
So we then attracts like. So we attract people who then also have self-respect and respect our time
and respect
too.
our time. And now it's made me be way more, I feel like I'm much more of a better consumer because now everybody who has I used to kind of be that person too. Like, I feel like you get tested with parts of yourself when you do stuff like this too. Like, I used to be like, oh shit, I'm almost late. Like, maybe if the appointment was at 11, I might leave my house at 10:45 and push it. I'm so much better about it now because I'm like, I don't like people being late for me, so I'm not going to be late for nobody else. You know what I mean?
I love that. And you have the awareness to like, you got to check yourself.
You
right?
just
like,
got to check yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I say to you guys, if you want to have like testimonials and shout outs for your business, well, when was the last time you wrote a testimonial, you wrote a review, you shouted out a business you love?
Oh, which absolutely.
You guys need to take a screenshot of this episode right now, tag me and tag Britt at Skin ATL. And if you're multitasking and you just tag me, I'll make sure I tag her and share it in my stories. Let us know you appreciate like the honesty, the rawness in the episode. In your business, right? It's one thing to be like skilled at what you do. You have the credential. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you get the steady flow of consistent clients coming in? And I know you use a couple different like lead generators. So tell us about how that looked, because you've scaled it now. Before they were like kind of consistently like trickling in. So how did that
trickling in? Like before it was just like trickling in, and I really just didn't have a lot of things set up. So like I tell people, like one main thing was like I was trying to just run things from my website. I didn't even know about being Google verified, like little things that people, like I was one of those people because I worked for a hospital. I never had to do marketing. I didn't have the job where even I needed to network. Like me and my friends joke, like I don't have great networking skills. I'm a people person. And if you put me in a room, I'm a work the room, but I never worked the room with intention. I never had to go in and be like, hi, I'm Latoya Britt. I did not have to do that because people are sick and they come to the hospital. So I never had to advertise what I did. That was not my lifestyle. So like literally I thought that things just came on the internet just because, like if a business popped up on the corner, I just thought that it got to the internet. You know what I mean? I did not know there was a process to get your business. If you have a physical location, I didn't know there was a process to get your business like Google verified. And when I found that out, I'm like, oh shit. And that is like another level of legitimacy if you have something like that you're doing. So like little things like that. And so I was trying to just run stuff like from my website and hoping people got there versus putting things in place when that happened. So like I started a blog, which kind of attracts people. I'm on Google. I have Instagram. I run reels. I do reels. I get a lot of traction from TikTok, which I'm not really on. I'm trying to get there. People will find me because they looked for something in their area. And then they're like, well, let me see if there's somewhere else close. But like a big thing I did was when people started messaging me, I have this whole list that I wasn't using anything from, like when people try to do the consultations. And now when people find me like from the blog or anything like that, now when people find me, I have like more of a marketing thing where I like send people emails and I have blog stuff, and I didn't have any of that. So like people would just go to my site and it would kind of die. You know what I mean? Versus
you didn't carry them on the journey. That's what we call in digital marketing, like the top of the funnel, right? Like you land on her actual studio on Google or you land on her website, and it's top of funnel. But if we have nowhere to take them from there to further nurture and build trust, you're kind of like sucking someone in, right?
Yeah, you are.
If you have nothing to do that,
if you have nothing to do,
you'll get some calls, but you're losing a lot of people.
You're losing a lot of people. You're losing a lot of people. So like connecting my website to my Instagram page for me is because I get a bunch of 40 and up people who aren't on Instagram, but then I get people who literally follow me for months, and they'll tell me when they call, I've been following you since XYZ. They'll say some random post, and I'm like, that shit was 7 months ago. They've literally been watching me for 7 months, and now they got the courage, or now they believe it, or now they've decided to put themselves first, and now they finally call. And then I get people who do the same thing and go, I want to do what you're doing. So I don't even do this. I want to do what you're doing. I'm in. I'm sold. Like, how do I get there?
So is this why you've created another revenue stream for your business and teaching other people how to do the camouflage tattoos?
Hell yeah, because so many people messaged me like for probably about 3 or 4 months. I waited for a while before I started teaching just because that's how I am. And I wanted to have enough experience and I wanted to be able to give people the full gamut because I took a camouflage course 3 times. I've taken this 3 times because the first time it was like, bleh. The second time I'm also one of those people. I take a lesson in everything. So even if it's some bullshit, I'm like, what was the lesson in that? So the first time I learned how to do the technique, but I had no idea how to run a business, nothing about marketing. I literally got home and was like, I'm screwed.
And I would have agreed.
I was like, I am screwed because I didn't get what I needed. I needed so much more, but that's how the classes are. They're technique only.
Right.
And
they're not saying, and we're going to show you how to make a crap ton of money in your business.
No. And if they do, they're really giving you a splurb. It's like, make sure that you're marketing and you have a social media page and make sure you're on Instagram.
But not teaching you how
to No. Nobody's even doing any of that. So I did that. And then the second class I took, it was like more reinforcement, but it was a little bit more marketing. And it was like, hey, you could probably do this and you could do that and you could do that. And I was like, okay. And it was still like, I put those two together. And then I took it a third time. And the third time I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. And she didn't even teach me anything additionally, but it was like the way I want to teach my classes. It was like, this is more the level of teaching I did. So for me, I took 3 classes. But I feel like now I have a full package. So when people come to my class, like literally the last 2 students after day 1 is 2 days. And after day 1, they were like, you don't know how it's almost like deer in the headlights type thing. They were like, this is a lot. And to me, that's a compliment because I'm like, yeah.
Because you're not bullshitting them. Because
I'm not bullshitting.
There is a lot.
Exactly.
I mean, it's worth it. But you're going to... I mean, no pun intended, but you have to put skin in the game. Right?
You got to put skin in the game. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you invested in taking that 3 times. You invested in working with me privately. And I know you have a tech person that helps you. I mean, you invested in a lot, but what those people are getting who want to learn from you and how to do it, they get to benefit from all of that knowledge you have.
All of that. So like I tell people, even if you take a class with me, I'm highly encouraging you to take a class with somebody else because different people say different things different ways. And that may be the way you got it. Like maybe the way I explained it didn't have the light bulb go off, but you also need to see how people do things because sometimes people who are good at doing something are not good at teaching something. I used to be a teacher. So I have that under my belt. When I made my classes, I teach to the room. I know that you have people who learn by hearing things. You have people who learn by doing things. You have people who learn by reading and visual things. Like you got to teach to everybody. So I cover all of those different components in my class. And you might not get that with everybody's class. So when my last students, day 1, where they were like, this is a lot of information. I'm like, good, because I've paid thousands of dollars for a class and been like, this was a fucking waste. You know what I mean? And been mad and disappointed. And I took something from it and added it to my classroom. I'm like, okay, so I won't do this. I won't do that. I won't do that. That's how I make it a lesson for me. Yeah, because a lot of people
listening have spent a lot of money on coaches, on programs, courses, and they've been all fluff and none of the meat that actually like, they still don't even know what they actually need to do.
No, for sure.
Right. But I like your point on it, which is maybe that had to happen for you to see what you don't want to do. Every time. To get further confirmation of how much crap is out there.
How much crap is out there? Yeah, people will literally sometimes find me and go, I took a course with XYZ and I want to take a course with you. But now they're upset because they spent an investment to take that course with somebody else. And then they want to take the course from me. And I'm also an investment. And it's like, I don't want to do it again if it's going to just be. And I'm like, yeah, baby, that's like part of the game. Like,
now you're fucked because now you're stopped. So you either
double down. Yep.
Or you're out.
Or you're out. You either double down or you're out. And that's how I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Because I'm not like, this is where we are. You're going to have to take the class with me or I guess or that's the end of your dream.
Right. Or you're
stops
out.
for you here. Yeah. Like,
I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay for things again either.
Right.
Of course not.
Of course I right. Yeah. But you never know unless you do. And I'm like, I always just tell people like, well, because people literally message me that they want me to sell them the course or something. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to tell you that I'm better than anybody else's, because I don't even know why you thought that didn't work. But what I'm telling you is I know what I bring in my class. Go read the reviews, watch me a little bit more. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, like, it is all a risk, but you either sit there and wonder or you participate and win, because that's the option.
Was all of this worth it for you? Everything that you've put into this, all the time, the hours, the content, the frustration, the money, is this worth it? Or do you still go, maybe I should go back? And
no,
do
this is so much work. This is so much. This is it. Like, I'm so much more fulfilled. And like I said, I loved doing that, but I'm so happy. And I literally, like, now my friends are like, I have one friend that literally is texting me right now. And she just texted me this morning, was like, can you give me 3 things? It was like almost sounded like a job essay question. What are the 3 things that you decided on that made you transition from corporate? Like, that was her question to me. And I'm laughing in my head, but people ask me that because they're like, you did this and you look like you're happy. Are you really happy? And I'm like, I'm happier. Like, hell yeah. And I tell people, like, I had a friend, a teacher. She's been she's their one friend that she graduated college and she's been a teacher. And now we're like 20 years later, she's still a teacher. So that's what she always wanted to do, but she's no longer happy. And I'm like, you have to like get over the fear of what if it doesn't work out, because that's the worst. And I always tell people, you could just go back to what you were doing and that shit will always be there. The life you currently have will still exist. You can go back to that. But what you don't know is what happens if it does. And granted, your idea of happiness probably will change, because at the time, mine was, I made 6 figures. I had a nice car. I had a nice house. I could take multiple trips during the year. And I started this business and that was not it. I still have all of those things, but like, I had to get to this level of like, I had to get there. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I didn't walk in making the same amount of money, blah, 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 blah. I had to budget some shit. I had to let some stuff go. I didn't go anywhere for first. I literally had to scale everything down and not be broke, but it felt very different. Like, I wouldn't get my hair done. I stopped getting my nails done. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely had to change and transition, but like, I have the freedom. I took my first trip this year and I literally got invited at the last minute. My friends was like, we're going to Cancun. We just need a break. And I'm like, really? And I look at my schedule. I'm free. I'm like, I don't have to ask anybody for permission to go. That felt so good. I look at the flights. I'm like, I can go.
That's worth like hotel. A lot of money to me. Just
my God. I look at the hotel and it was nice as hell. And I literally was like, fuck it, I'm going. And I took the trip. And when I got there, I was like, this is the first trip that I've taken in 10 plus years where I did not have to ask for it off. And that's mind blowing to me. I'm like, I didn't have to ask anybody. I felt like I won the lotto. Like when I got there, I like got
on
there.
The beach, like with your hands up in the air, some crazy ass.
Tell you, like when I got there, they left it like, because they had already decided they go. So they were all on the flight. So I finally decided. They got there at like 11. I get there at 2. So my friends are like texting me, like giving me the information about, I just got on the bus. I get to the hotel. They're like, we're at the pool. Come downstairs. I put my stuff up. I walk downstairs. I'm like, I'm very happy to be here. Coming to America. Like it was a trip, but it felt so good because I was like, I am here and I just get to be here. And I don't even have to worry about the shit that's piling up on my desk when I get back. Like, granted, I had stuff to get back to do, but it felt so much better. Like my happiness now is last Friday, my son had they had a hat parade, some made up shit at his daycare because this is what they do. I feel like a boss bitch. I literally went to work and was able to get off because this shit starts at 3:30. So it's only a certain kind of people that can get to stuff like this at that time in the day. But I was there and that made me so happy. And I'm like, I'm being a parent. I'm like, let me me show you the pictures. He was like, damn, did you at least get pictures? I'm like, yep, but I had the pictures. And I'm like, I felt so good because I would have never been able to get to the hat parade working in the hospital.
How you got this and how you get on the other side, you guys, is you made a decision. And it sounds so simple to where you might be rolling your eyes right now. But I mean, it's the amount of time, energy, and effort we spend like in that pre-decision mode.
Girl.
Should I
it's
do
forever.
It is. We burn so much time and energy. It is unbelievable. I mean, I was 10 years. I was really crazy. And then once you make the decision, it does set you free, even though, you're going to get hit with a lot of stuff.
The weight lifts. Yeah, for sure. The weight lifts and you're like, it's almost like the hills are alive with the sound of, you're like, okay. Cause now you have a new thing. You're like, okay, this is what it is. This is what I'm doing. It sounds so scary. It sounds so simple. And I tell people like, really, what are you really afraid of? That's what I asked my friend today. I was like, are you afraid of the lifestyle that you're not going to be able to keep up? Are you afraid of what people think? Are you afraid of not being able to pay your bills? Cause she's married and like they both live real. I'm like, you can be good.
You got a pretty good girl.
You got a pretty good situation. And she was like, she typed back and said, it's my stable, high paying job. And I'm like, right. But that stable, high paying job must not be fulfilling because you're literally debating with this question. And you've asked me this question like 5 times in the last 6 months. I'm gonna tell you the same thing every time. You know what I mean?
She's in that pre-decision phase.
She's in that pre-decision phase.
And you can't make someone get out of that phase.
No, you got to
try to empower you guys.
Yeah.
Like, this episode might make you guys get out of it. Right? Yeah. I hope so. And if so, you better credit us. So take a screenshot. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it in your Instagram, Facebook stories, tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany, tag Britt at Skin, SKYN ATL. And if you are interested or you have had any surgeries or you have stretch marks, and I mean, I didn't know this existed. So tell the people where they can go to connect with you. You're going to want to see her social media content for sure, because she started by total scratch.
I started with nothing. I had my personal Instagram page, and then I had to start a business page. And I'm like, okay. So I literally started with nothing. And now it's like part of life now, but
people come. I mean, you guys obviously heard that. I'll have it in the show notes so you can swipe up, but it's Skin, SKYN ATL on Instagram. Is that your handle on TikTok too?
That's my handle on TikTok. I'm trying to build my TikTok up. It's probably not much there. I'm going to start a YouTube page. That's my other little part of myself that I have to just get around. What are people going to think? But I'm starting a YouTube page, and then my website, www.skinatl.com, SKYNATL. And the YouTube page is Deeper Than Skin. So I'm just kind of gonna bring people on the journey of how I build this business empire, because I'm trying to be like Rihanna, baby. Like,
yes. I love it.
Yeah, Deeper Than Skin, because it's like more than just tattoos. It's an experience. And I tell people, the people who come to me, they come to me because they've decided to put themselves first. And sometimes like doing this is, you're like, I deserve to feel better about myself. But literally when they come back, they're all new people. So for me, I get to see them transform too. And that's part of the stuff that I want to share with people. Because sometimes when you prioritize yourself, that's another gateway to the next level of life. Even like for me, leaving that job was me prioritizing myself. Like I didn't have any kind of like self-esteem issues or body issues or any of that. But my thing was I deserve to be able to say I want more, even though like life is comfortable and life is good. I'm still not living my best life. And so I just feel like my people are those same people too. They're just the people who need to figure it out, and they just need somebody to shine the light bulb on. So that's Deeper Than Skin.
Oh, I'm excited for it. Well, you guys, if you take nothing else away from this, decide that pre-decision mode you're in is like self-imposed purgatory. It's
oh God.
I was in it for 10 years. It'll just keep going. It'll keep for a long time.
Keep going. It will be real dark.
You're in control. You get to actually free yourself and decide.
Yeah.
No one else can do it for you.
Nobody else
I mean,
can do
God,
it for
the universe will put stuff in your way to kind of push you and then shove you in that direction.
That
right?
was me. I got kicked out.
Yeah, like, I got very shoved. It was like I felt like God was like, really? It's been 10 years now. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do here?
I definitely that was why my stuff ended up being 2 weeks and not 60 days. God was like, no, girl, get the fuck out. Stop playing.
It's exactly. Decide, stop playing. It's time. Thanks for coming on and sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Love you so much. I'm so proud of you.
I know. You guys choose her. If you're looking for a business coach, choose her. Tiffany literally leveled me up. I thought I was there, but she helped me in so many ways. And even still, we're friends now, right?
We are friends now. Yeah, you guys, people are surprised. My clients are like, I'm not paying you anymore. And you still talk to me and support me. And I was like, well, yeah. Like, unless I think you're an asshole.
I know.
There may be some of those out there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, love. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.